Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the 10 hours of Nordschleife here at ACM. We have today about 50 to 60 teams with us today. It's a multi-class race. There's GT3 and GT4 taking part in this race. There's a 2 times time multiplier active, so while there's 10 hours that will pass in real life, it will be 20 hours in the server. So of course these drivers will be having to experience the nighttime and the daytime here at Nordschleife. Currently we're in the qualifying session. Let me just bring up the leaderboard times. There we go. We have a few fast laps put in at the moment. Maurice Schwander has set an 8:10 flat as the target lap time to beat at the moment. He's currently on a lap at the moment, but about 3 seconds down from his personal best, and I believe he's also behind a car who is on a qualifying lap as well, so won't be able to do anything more in that lap. But an 8:10 flat is a very fast lap time for Maurice Schwander there, 2.3 seconds faster than the P2 driver of David Castagnoli at the moment. And of course you can see on the left hand side there's quite a few drivers within 10 seconds, but after that the gaps do start to spread out a little bit. There's about 2 seconds between P16, P17 and a few seconds between P21, P22, etc. As I said, GT4 drivers are in today's race. They've set some times out there at the moment. Max van der Snel is the fastest GT4 out there at the moment, set a 9:07 lap time. Obviously these cars are a lot slower than the GT3 cars. We saw that last weekend in real life at the 24 hours of Nürburgring. We're doing a little bit of a replica here today. Also there's no Dacia Logan in this event, but of course there are GT3s and GT4s, so plenty of cars out on track and hopefully plenty of action. We've got a request for car number 81. Of course, throughout this race, if you do want a specific car to be watched, to be looked at, to be commentated on, please do request, and I can of course switch the camera to them. Car 81 currently on a lap, not set any lap at the moment, so of course are towards the rear of the grid, but of course and now onto the Dossinger at the moment. Will be coming across the line ready to start their qualifying lap, finish the current lap that they're on. I'm not sure whether it's a fully valid lap. I think it is, but I'm not sure what their current time is or where they're currently predicted to be, but we'll find out very soon. So up at the top, no change at the moment, but there are some quite close times set at the moment. Felix Zimmermann in the Overlimit Racing team Ferrari has set a 8:14.2, which is only 0.3 of a second slower than the P3 of Philip Felinski in an Audi out of all vehicles. There are quite a range of vehicles on track today, but the Audi is certainly a rare one to see on Assetto Corsa Competizione nowadays. We have some other cars, the Lexus. Of course, we saw a Lexus in P1, but Luca Butolf, the ISS Racing team, is also in a Lexus out there. A very nice blue livery on that Lexus. He's currently set an 8:16.3, currently predicted for that to go up. Of course, 4/10 to the P8 position, which is currently held by Frederick, so hopefully he can gain some more time on his lap. He's behind a GC4 at the moment as well, so obviously getting caught up. We'll see how that plays on and see what comes out of it. We'll go on board with Maurice Schwander for a bit. He's just started his valid qualifying lap. He's coming through the first corner now. We'll have a look at his GP loop. He's got quite a big gap in front of me at the moment. There's a Mercedes GT3, I believe that is in front. Hopefully he doesn't catch up with him. Of course, Maurice Schwander does have the disadvantage of being the fastest on track, which means he will catch everyone else that is in front of you. Of course, both good and bad comes from being fast. You qualify first, you get to turn 1 first, but you also potentially have the first of contacts and stuff. So as I said, if you are watching, you are from a team, you want us to watch a specific team during today's race, obviously there's 10 hours of racing to go ahead. I'll be commentating for about the first hour, maybe hour and a half. We'll see how it goes. There's quite a big grid on today, so hopefully there's plenty of action for me to commentate over. Currently 30 cars have set their qualifying lap times. Of course the GT4 is the slowest at the moment. Vincent Flickinger, who is in the 81 Camaro, has set a 9:11. About 5 or 6 seconds slower than the other GT4s in front, but of course the GT4 race will be quite close throughout this 10-hour race, so we'll see plenty of action for these drivers out there. Slidey through that corner. The Lexus GT3 is able to get through nicely in that one. Entering the GP loop now, so we'll be getting ready to sweat buckets for the next few minutes at least. This race is, of course, hosted by ACM. This is the 2026 Nordschleife Landstrecken Endurance Series. It's based lightly off of the NLS series, which goes ahead in real life. Of course, we have an endurance race every 3 weeks. Here at ACM on Nordschleife, 10 hours, 6 hours, 24 hours, we have it all. We even have some pre-2019 races, some GT4 races, etc. If you do fancy coming and checking out ACM Racing, acm-racing.com is our website. Plenty of events on. We have sprint races during the week and endurance races on the weekend. Currently have 3 endurance series as active: the 2026 Endurance Series, the 2026 Nordschleife Landstrecken Endurance Series, and the 2026 Fundraiser Endurance Series. So plenty on, plenty of action to go ahead in today's race. So if you do want to come and join us and come and see what action we've got on, acm-racing.com is the place to go. So, 6 minutes left of the qualifying session at the moment. Drivers are out there trying to gain that time as much as they can. Julian Struckrath is in the sector 1 of the Nordschleife loop at the moment, about 1 second up on their fastest lap, which will put them in P2, but obviously there's 2 more sectors of the Nordschleife to go ahead. A GT4 to pass in front of them as well, so plenty of potential for that time to drop a little bit. We'll see how they navigate this GT4 here. Hopefully all is safe. They'll be coming up to a straight soon enough, but as you can see, is getting held up by this GT4. I believe about 7/10 of a second have disappeared since we switched over to them, but they're overtaking the GT4 now. Will be clear and past them by the time we get to this corner. About 2/10 down on their fastest lap time now as a result of that, but hopefully we'll see an improvement throughout the rest of the laps. Plenty of potential in there for Struckrath, so we'll keep our eye on things. Philip Valinsky in the Audi is also gaining some time on their previous. I don't know whether they're on a valid qualifying lap at the moment or not, but they are 1.2 seconds up on their personal best, so we'll be seeing potentially a change to P4, potentially a closer P4, P5 position. Obviously, Philip Valinsky needs about 1.3 seconds to comfortably take that P4 position, and 1.5 seconds to comfortably take the P3 position. Of course, P2, P3 and P4 are very close. 3/10 of a second separates them, and our track as big as Nordschleife. That's the difference of an exit of a corner, you know, an entrance to a corner, a braking point, which traffic you get caught up to, etc. So here in today's race, plenty of action to go ahead, plenty of potential from these drivers. Coming across the line now, 1.5 seconds faster than their personal best. Do they improve? No, it seems like it was... or they did improve, but it wasn't enough, just slightly, to get them into P4. They were only 0.06 of a second away from that P4 position, so that's going to be a close battle for P2, P3 and P4, potentially for P1 as well, of course, depending on P1's start. Ilya Ivanik is out in the car at the moment, taking over from Marie Schwander, looking to get some more lap times on board. Of course, an 8:10 flat is going to be a difficult time for Ilya to beat, but we'll be seeing what they can do about it and seeing what potential they have. Another driver who is on an improvement at the moment is Dylan Schofferin in the Volkenhurst Motorsport BMW. They're currently 6/10 up on their lap. They're about midway through sector 2, so of course halfway through their lap at the moment. Plenty of more corners to come, but they need about 2/10 to improve to P7, 8/10 to improve to P6, and about 2.5 seconds to improve to P5. So plenty of potential. He's only 0.03 of a second faster than P9 at the moment, so potentially going to be a position change between these two. Tom Morris-Jones in the Chalva Racing Mustang, currently coming through the carousel at the moment, has set an 8:15.085. As I said, 0.03 of a second difference to P8, so he wants to gain that time and potentially gain some more positions as well. 1.3 seconds up on his personal best, but I believe this lap is an invalid qualifying lap, so we might not see any change at this lap, but we'll be seeing how it goes. About 2 minutes left of the qualifying session, about 1.5 minutes left of his qualifying lap, so he will have another lap's potential to be put in. Down in the GT4 grid, we've had a change for the top actually. Philip Shelsteed has taken the P1 position for the GT4s, has broken into the 8-minute lap times as well, an 8-minute 59.407 compared to the previous fastest of 9 minutes flat 0.7. So of course very fast here from Philip, but not much more that he needs to do really. Set that comfortable qualifying lap. I believe he's out on one at the moment, but of course 1 minute 50 left of qualifying. I don't believe any other GT4 has the potential to take that position. Andreas Garrido having a little bit of an unsteady moment outside of the carousel there. Torben Zimmermann for the SLRT Camaro is about to start his final qualifying lap, comes around the Joker lap now, comes across the finishing line and is ready to start the lap. Sandy Whitman for the Aston Martin Racing GT4 has just come into the pit lane, so will not be setting another qualifying lap this session. Vincent Flickinger for the Blackout Racing Camaro is out on a lap at the moment, potentially going to be improving, but needs about 10 to 11 seconds to improve to P1 or P2, so potentially going to be seeing some change there, about 5 seconds to P5 in front of him, so we'll be seeing what they can do. About 3/4 of the way through the lap at the moment, not much left to go. There's about a minute left of their lap until they cross the line, so we'll be seeing if there's any change. Julian Struckrath currently 2 seconds up on his lap time, 2.6 seconds back from the P1 position, so the Project Loki Aston Martin is hungry for that P1 position. We'll be seeing what they can do about it. A very slidey exit to that corner there, but I hope that lap is still valid. I don't think it is though, so unfortunately that 2 seconds was lost in that corner as soon as I switched to it. Commentator's curse played out, but we'll be seeing how it continues for them. David Castagnoli is about 1.5 seconds up on his lap at the moment. Obviously only just started the Nordschleife lap, so plenty of corners to gain or lose time. And of course we'll have a 10-minute overtime in the qualifying session, so plenty of time for him to do. He just needs to keep it steady, keep his mind in the game, and potentially going to be taking that P1 spot. Marie Schwander, Ilya Ivanik, the 7 racing team, is not going out for another lap. They're in the pit lane at the moment, so that P1 position is provisionally secured with an 8:10.035. As I said, Castagnoli is out on a lap at the moment, is only just at the start of the lap, but is 1.5 seconds up, so potentially going to be a change. He needs about 2.3 seconds to steal that P1 position, so we'll be seeing how his lap carries on. Another car that's on a valid qualifying lap at the moment, nearly at the end of it. Dylan Schofferin for Valkenhurst Motorsport BMW, currently 8/10 up on the lap, will promote them into potentially P7 as they come across the line. We'll be seeing how they do through the final few corners here. It's a clean exit, don't touch the barrier on the outside, a little bit of a slide on the rear there, dropping the tenths ever so slightly, about 5/10 improvement now. It will drop him, I think, comfortably into P8. Yep, there we go, P8 has been secured, but still about 5/10 away from P7, so very good performance from the Valkenhurst Motorsport BMW there. We'll be seeing what they can do during the race. We'll go back on board with Castagnoli for now. He's still on his flying lap. He's dropped a few tenths since we last saw him, 1.2 seconds is the difference now, but of course still got more than half of the lap to continue, so we'll be seeing potentially some more improvement, taking him right to the track edge there on that corner. This one here is a difficult one. You've got to get the right apex entry. It dips down a bit on the inside, gets you a nice hook out. Don't touch too much of the curb. On the outside it can unsettle, and you've got to be careful during here. Some people do a slight breakthrough there, but David Castagnoli is pedal to the metal through those corners. You've got to keep it steady during those corners. Don't go out too far wide, but also keep it close to the inside. Once again, tight braking zone, keeping it tight to the inside before hammering the throttle out on the exit. Using the most of the exit brick there, heading down in towards the bridge at Edenau. Coming across the bridge now and entering into the second half of the Nordschleife. Using a bit of the curb on the exit there, that might potentially lost them a little bit of time. They're now below 1 second improvement, so potentially not going to be a P1 spot here for David Castagnoli, but I'm not going to say too much provisionally. I don't want the commentator's curse to be appearing again. Getting a nice exit out of that one though. Don't want to touch the outside curb too much, and from here the next sort of half a minute or so is just pedal to the metal, full throttle throughout this section, trying not to lose too much time by using too much track, but it looks like David Castagnoli has this section sorted. It's going to be a fast left-hander followed by a fast right-hander before they brake quite harshly into one of the first right-hander hairpins this section of track, and then of course the carousel is going to be after that. So here is the fast right-hander, a little bit of a lift, potentially, no, keeps it down fully. Harsh braking zone into the first hairpin, keeps it tight to the apex, gets a nice exit out of there, keeping the car with the nose pointed forwards. Now the carousel braking just before the second sort of curve on the curb there, keeping it tight to the inside, a little bit of the inside tyre on the bottom section, keeps the car hooked in nicely. Exit is done well. This section through here, you just need to keep the throttle down fully, using the most of the exit tarmac there, braking just after the curb starts, keeping it hooked into the left, hooking it over to the right, using not too much of the exit curb there, getting a little bit unsteady after touching the apex, keeping it tight, keeping it clean. Still a valid lap for Castagnoli, still 1.4 seconds to be improved. Another lap time has come in though. Jacob Regmont has taken that P1 spot and has set at 8 minutes 9.3. An incredibly fast lap time for Jacob Regmont there. Very successful qualifying session for him. And of course, Maurice Schwander can't reply to that at the moment as the qualifying session is over. As I said, Castagnoli is out on a lap. He's also got the potential to challenge Maurice Schwander. We'll need a 3-second improvement for that P1 spot now though, so potentially only going to be an improvement to P1, or at the very minimum a bit of pressure applied onto Maurice. We'll jump back on board then, carry on with the lap review over one of the most famous sections of the Nordschleife there. It's the little jump before the tight right-hander, keeping it tight to the inside of that corner, using the exit brick that's on the side. Another section there where Max Verstappen last week had a bit of a moment, taking too much airtime through there, but David Castagnoli does that wonderfully. Braking just after the orange section on the right hand side of the track there, keeping it close to the right before darting back to the left, and once again not using too much of the exit curb on the outside. Mini carousel is here. It's one of the final corners before the Dottinger straight, a little bit unsteady there, not getting tight enough into the apex, but still a good corner for David. Now keeping it close to the right hand side for the second part of the corner, exiting down to the Dottinger, still on a valid qualifying lap, 8/10 up on the lap time at the moment, so potentially not going to be an improvement to P2, but a very strong lap time put in nevertheless. Keeps that P4 feeling comfortable. Kilian Friedrich, who is in P4 at the moment, is coming across the line, 1.7 seconds up on a personal best. I'm not sure whether it's a valid qualifying lap. We'll see. Now improves into P3, 1.7 seconds back from P1. It's going to put some pressure onto David Castagnoli though, as he needs to improve now 1.2 seconds to keep his P3 position. He's only 7/10 up on his lap at the moment, only got 2 or 3 corners to go through, braking late into that one, keeping it tight to the inside, using the curb on the right hand side, getting a nice exit, not touching the barrier on the outside. It's going to be 1 second up on the exit of that corner. Not going to be enough to improve into P3, but enough to put some pressure on. Only 6/10 back from that P3 lap, and is about 1 second in front of Friedrich in P5. That was a very nice qualifying session from all drivers. We've got most drivers across the line now. There are quite a few still pending on those lap times. Down in GT4, just for a bit of an update, Rafael Bayer has set a blistering speed in his Mercedes and has set an 8-minute 55.3, so 4 seconds faster than Shellsteed, who was the one to steal the last P1 position. So that's an incredibly fast lap time for Rafael for the SRP Racing Team Mercedes. It's going to be very interesting to see what he can do during the race. Shellsteed, as I said, currently in P2, currently maintaining that position. Van der Schell is in P3 for the GT4s. Garrido out on a lap still at the moment, but I'm not sure whether it's valid, but it's in P4. Needs to improve 4 seconds to potentially get P3. We'll see how they do. And then Zimmerman in the 555 is in P5. Only just improved towards Whitman. There's about 2/10 of a difference between those two cars. And then Flickinger and Guvenia is about 5 seconds back from there. So interested in GT4s, we'll be seeing how they can improve. Got some people asking for some cars as well. Let me just scroll through my list and find them. As I said, Zimmerman number 555 has just finished the qualifying session. He's coming across the line now. Will improve to P4 in GT4s within a 9-minute 3-second flat. Very fast lap time for Torben there, so interesting to see what can potentially happen there. So we'll be heading on to the starting grid now. We'll be forwarding into the race session. We'll be getting ready to go for 10 hours of racing. So here we are on the grid, getting ready for this start to commence. I'll jump into a little bit of a run through of the grid. I do apologise if the camera moves a bit fast here. This is the grid. Let me just do this a second. Here we go. This is the grid for today's race. We have a BMW starting us off. Rare to see in ACC the BMW doing this well at Nordschleife. But Jacob Regmont has set an incredibly good lap time in that BMW. Maurice Fonda wasn't able to contend with that at the end of qualifying, but it will start in P2. There's a 5-second penalty which has been applied there to Regmont as well. So potentially going to be changing in the pit lane. Of course, today's race is 10 hours long, but there is a 65-minute stint timer on the race today. That means that drivers must enter the pit lane before the 65-minute timer runs down. So, of course, here with the 8-minute lap times, drivers do have to be careful. They have to be confident that they can complete their lap times within that timer. You might see some drivers adjusting their pit lane times to make it out better. So, of course, getting a splash and dash towards the end, for example, or maybe giving themselves a full stint towards the end. We'll be seeing how that goes ahead. I will be commentating, as I said, for the first hour to hour and a half of this race, and potentially more if there is plenty of action. I'll continue going through the grid now, though. We've got a Ferrari in P3, followed by 2 Aston Martins in P4, P5. There's the Audi that I mentioned is quite rare to see. Obviously, the Audi driven by Philip Felinski. Then we've got the first Mustang of today's race. Tom Morris-Jones is in that Mustang. He's got a Ferrari behind him, followed by another Lexus, followed by another BMW, followed by another BMW. So plenty of BMWs out on grid today. Ferrari is a good car here to have at Nordschleife. You can see 2 Ferraris following up in P12 and P13 there. Just after that is a Porsche in a very nice livery. I believe that's the Porsche of Rabain in the RMS number 90 Porsche. Just behind them, another Lexus, that lime green and grey Lexus. Certainly very visible, certainly one of the good things to have, especially when it gets towards night time here. Lamborghini in P16, followed by a BMW in P17. Krasnov in number 599 Ferrari at the bottom left is in P18. Got 3 more BMWs after that. A Porsche, which has just returned to the pit lane, I believe. And then an Aston Martin, another BMW, and you can see the grid setting off now. See the GT4s here soon. Here's the first one, the Mercedes, a couple of Camaros, and a couple of Alpines as well. So they are heading in towards turn 1 now. Plenty of action is about to get underway. Hopefully it is a clean turn 1, but we can only hope and pray for that. Jump onto Helicam here. Not sure what the best camera angle will be for this section, but we'll be seeing what we can do. So they'll be lined up in double file, trying to get some heat into those tyres. Those GT4s will be especially trying to get some heat into the tyres. Obviously, these guys don't have tyre blankets in those cars, so we'll be trying to maintain the heat as much as they can. Going around and coming out onto the start-finish straight, we'll jump on board the wing of Jacob Regmont. We'll see what the grid is looking like behind us. Absolutely mental grid that we've got today. I believe there's about 60 or so cars that are participating in this race. As I said, 2 times time multiplier, but we're about to get underway. Jacob Regmont is setting the pace. We've got a Lexus on the outside. Green light is go. They are heading down in towards turn 1. It's hopefully going to be a clean turn 1, but the BMW has got a good getaway. The Lexus is still applying some pressure on the outside there. We'll jump on board Helicam. The Lexus is looking for that P1 position. Aston Martin potentially looking for a P2 position there. Braking late into the first corner, keeping it tight into the second part of that apex. We've got some yellow flags behind, hopefully nothing too major, as we'll be seeing these guys continue. It's a close race between Jacob Regmont and the Aston Martin. Regmont has dropped back a few since the start of this race. Obviously, he started in P1, was it having to go around the outside at turn 1. He's now having to go around the outside with a Shrek Ferrari looking to put some pressure on the BMW there. But Regmont has settled now down into P4, has an Aston Martin in front of him, who has ran slightly wide, potentially some contact there. I did wince a little bit when I saw that, but thankfully no contact. All the grid is just getting lined up on my tracker, so I'll be able to start switching more reliably soon. But you can see Regmont has unfortunately dropped down in towards P4 since the start of this race. Schwander in P1 has had an excellent start, obviously qualified first for the majority of the qualifying session, started on the P2 spot, took the dive in towards turn 1, took a successful inside apex to that corner, and was able to get out of it quite successfully. You can see the line of cars just behind now. We'll jump on board the Aston Martin for this view. Actually, you can see the line of cars coming through the bus stop there. David Castagnoli, actually it's currently Nonsetti which is in the car at the moment, as in the P2 spot. Obviously these guys started in, I believe, P4, P3, so a very good start for these guys. Up 2 positions since the start. Regmont down 2 positions since the start. Ebel in P4 has dropped 1 position since the start, but the biggest gainer of the top 10 is actually the Roubaix RMS Rock Motorsport Endurance Porsche. I mentioned they have a very nice livery, but they've also gained 4 positions since the start of this race, so an incredibly good start for the number 90 Porsche. We'll be hoping to see some more overtakes from them. We'll jump back on board with the top of the field. Castagnoli is still trying to defend that P2 position, got a lot of pressure from Regmont just behind. I doubt there's going to be much of a risk taken this early into the race, but we're seeing what they can do. Certainly able to take that corner a lot more confidently than the Aston Martin in front. There's a lot of time that's been gained there actually, so we'll be potentially seeing an overtake in towards this braking zone. This is another section where we saw some airtime last week, but no airtime at the moment. Jacob Regmont is all over the rear of that Aston Martin, looking to the inside. Not going to be making a dive though. Smart thing to do on lap 1. Aston Martin gets very unsteady up front though, so the pressure is certainly being applied correctly. Heading down now into the bottom loop section of the Nordschleife, heading up towards the hill. Fast left-hander followed by a harsh braking zone into a right-hander. Once again, Regmont is looking to apply that pressure, but not too much going on between those at the moment. Down in GT4s, I believe the first GT4 that we have is Max van der Snel, who is in the Porsche. I potentially think they're first. There is a BMW which has just passed, which does now bring Flickinger just behind. I apologise if I mispronounce any of these names. I am doing my best. Ryan Cheshire from the Molyneux racing team, currently making his way through the GT4s at the moment, trying to do it as safely as possible. That Lexus has quite a bit of battle scarring already on the left hand side of the car, so potentially had a bit of a scrappy start to this race, but currently we are clean. There's a yellow flag up ahead for car number 517. I believe that's a Mercedes that's actually off track there, so hopefully they're able to get going again without issue. Here we go, joined back on to the circuit, so thankfully nothing too major so far. David Castagnoli has now lost that position to Regmont. Unfortunately, I missed that, but Regmont has now promoted himself back into P2. He's going to be chasing down the position of Schwander now. Obviously, he stole that P1 spot in qualifying and is now looking to steal that P1 spot in the race as well. Let's just have a check over the start of this race. Plenty of incidents have so far happened, but it's looking okay so far. There's another yellow flag, car number 19, car number 148, having a few issues there. Hopefully nothing too major. You can see the track map on the right hand side of your screen is certainly quite stacked. There's a lot of cars coming through this Nordschleife loop, so it's difficult to get a good track of them all, but there's certainly some close battles. Castagnoli is back under pressure. Maximilian Ebel is in the Ferrari and is looking for a P3 position in the first lap of this race. Castagnoli just trying to keep it consistent, not trying to get too many positions on the start of this race. Obviously there's 10 hours to go, so plenty of time to make those positions back. Braking hard into the first hairpin at the moment. There's a couple of yellow flags more towards the rear, but nothing too major once again. Luckily, touching wood, that there is no more. You can see plenty of GT4s towards the rear of the grid. The blue ones on your track map on the right hand side are the GT4s. Maximilian Erbel making a mistake there at the carousel, escaping the carousel inner section, getting outside and losing about 0.3 seconds there, so you can see how much time is gained or lost by just using that inner banked section of the carousel. That gap has diminished a little bit, but up in P16, Hendrik Lehmann, who has currently gained one position since the start of this race, is looking for another one. 0.4 seconds back from Krasnov at the moment, certainly putting that pressure on. There's a mistake from a car in front, but they've rejoined the track safely. Some more pressure being put on between these drivers here. I believe there was a mistake at some point from another BMW. There's a bit of damage on the front of Beer's car at the moment. And there is some more pressure being put on by Ivan Isapov now, 0.3 seconds back from Bejan. Lots of people asking for some more updates on the GT4 drivers. So we've got number 555 potentially. I can't see where number 555 is, so hopefully they're not out of the race, but I can't see them on my tracker at the moment. Vania is in P3 for the GT4s at the moment. The Porsche of Van der Snel is still up at the front. Vickinger is 2.6 seconds back from that Porsche, so he's looking to gain that time, but there is some GT3s passing him at the moment. Obviously those GT3s will be heading in towards the other GT4 as well. Back up at the front, Valensky coming through the mini carousel, 0.6 seconds back from Eberl at the moment. And now into the Dottinger, heading out to finish the first lap of this race. As I said, 2 times time multiplier is active in today's race, so these drivers are making the most of the light while it exists. It will be night in about 4 hours or so, so we'll be seeing some night overtakes and some night battles. GT4s are certainly separated from the GT3s now. You can see on the right hand side of your screens the GT4s, the blue icons, are quite a few seconds back from the main GT3 pack. Now there are still quite a few stragglers in the GT3 pack making their way through, but nothing too crazy. Most have made their way through. Philip Flinsky, you can see the speed difference from the slipstream that's been had across the Dottinger there, but no position gain at the moment. Chasing down the Shrek Ferrari, getting a good exit out of the final corner, and that is across the line for the first lap of the 10-hour race. Maurice Schwander is the one leading it. Had a drop back in qualifying, was able to take that in turn one lap ago, and is now comfortably sat in that P1 position. Regmont looking to gain back his P1 position since qualifying, 2 seconds back at the moment. 10 hours to go, so plenty of time for that position to be brought back. 6/10 faster Regmont was in qualifying compared to Schwander, so we'll be seeing if that can be reciprocated in the race. Castagnole, who we saw having quite a few battles in the first lap of this race, is now in more comfortable position in P3, 2 seconds back from P2, has about 1 second gap on Eberl behind as well. Philip Flinsky just behind that, who we were on just recently, looking to gain that P4 position, but currently the gap is at 1 second. Admiring this livery here. You got the Dacia logo on there, the Shrek that's on the side, you got a few more faces on there. It's an absolute class livery from the former Racing by Timigo. We'll be looking forward to seeing what they can do in that livery, but we'll jump back in towards P11 at the moment. Zimmerman is looking to overtake Way. Way manages to maintain that position. It was quite a tight apex between the two cars there, and it looks like Zimmerman is actually losing out on quite a few positions now. It is very close between P8 and P17, so Zimmerman already looking to gain back one position at the inside of a very fast right-hander there. And that position is going to be gained by the time they reach the bus stop. It seems like that BMW is still alongside though. And that was unfortunately an error there from one of the two drivers. Obviously the stewards will be looking at that and penalties will be applied if necessary, but that's unfortunate to see. Dominic has been hit by the commentator's curse, it seems, and did drop a few places back from where they were a few minutes ago. But of course 10 hours left of the race, plenty of time to gain back those positions. Krasnov is now looking for the position on Koeman. Koeman in the BMW in front is about 2 seconds back from Subol, so those gaps have certainly spread out a little bit more now. Krasnov is looking for that position. Someone's asking where is Shellsteed. Shellsteed is down in P last for the GT4s. I apologise, I don't have a relative interval for how many GT4s there are, but unfortunately Shellsteed has had an unlucky start to this race, obviously starting in, I believe, P1 in the GT4s and is now down in P55 of the overall field. So hopefully Philip can get this back on track and get some more positions gained. These GT4s should be quite a competitive grid between them, so we'll be seeing what they can do. Seems like the Alpine of Freddie Whaley has had a very good start to this race. A little bit of damage on the front of that car. The Legion Esports Alpine has done very well, though. He's currently sat in, I believe, P7, P8 for the GT4, so he's looking for a P position gain as well. He's having to defend at the moment from Jacob Tucki in the Hunt Racing Porsche, who's just behind. Quite a big battle here in the GT4s. Obviously, it's quite a lot slower than the GT3s, but of course, braking late into the chicane there. The Legion Esports braking much later than Jacob was able to, and is able to maintain that position. Not sure whether there'll be an overtake between these guys soon. A little bit unsteady there into the corner from Jacob Tucki. But it is as it is at the moment. Zimmerman is back on track. I can see him on my timing sheet now. Is in the last place position, but of course 10 hours ago, plenty more to happen. It's good to see them back out on track. I don't know what happened during lap 1, but it's good to see them back either way. Going back towards the front of the GT3s then, the gaps have started to spread out a little bit more. Number 965 is 0.5 seconds back from Felinski now. Felinski has dropped slightly, 3 seconds back from Burl. Burl himself is now 0.7 seconds back from Castagnoli as well, so Castagnoli back under pressure for that P3 position, 2 seconds back from Regmont, keeping it consistent at the moment. We've had the fastest lap time of the race set so far, which is an 8 minute 16.8. I expect, of course, that to go up. That was the first lap that was completed by everyone, but Schwander currently has that lap time. Second fastest lap has been an 8 minute 18.7, which was set by Jacob Regmont, so about 2 seconds difference between those two, and the gap between them on track is 2 seconds, so that correlates at the moment. Of course, Regmont has a 5-second penalty. Apologies, I will go have to get my door. Apologies about that, I just had to get my doorbell. There was a delivery that was there. As I was saying, the top positions here in the GT3 category are quite close. Burl is still putting some pressure on Castagnoli, 0.4 seconds between those at the moment. And further down the grid, Coman is putting some more pressure on P11, 0.3 seconds between those at the moment. Of course, coming towards the end of the second lap, Philip Felinski has an issue there. He's on the outside of that corner, is able to rejoin safely though. Had some people asking for car number 248 as well. Car number 248 is currently in P33. Plenty of damage on that BMW, so unfortunately has had an unlucky start to this race, but is going to be crawling back to the pit lane to see what they can do. Christian Bejan, very unfortunate start, is almost at the pit lane now, so not too much further to go, and hopefully they're able to get back out going. Of course, 9 hours 44 minutes left of the race, plenty more action to happen. It's an endurance race. As you saw last weekend, anything can happen. We've got some position changes here between Sergei Saltev and Ingram in front. Quite close between these. I have a feeling there'll be a position change on the Dossinger. Sergei Saltev is on the rear of that Aston Martin at the moment. And that Aston Martin is on the rear of Stoyan in the McLaren as well, so it's certainly very close. The slipstream for Badir behind is going to be very hefty. You see the Mustang actually getting a little bit unsteady on the curb there, having to cede that position to Hamza Badir. Hamza Badir is now looking for a position gain in front. He's got the slipstream from the McLaren. The McLaren is trying to get the slipstream from the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin is pulling a big block of air in front of them. We'll be seeing this train of cars coming through. You can see them weaving, trying to gain those positions. And McLaren goes to the outside looking for that position gain. Goes around the outside, isn't able to make it work though. I believe the Mustang is on the outside of Hamza Badir there as well. Hamza Badir takes a sensible decision just to allow that Mustang to pass on the outside there. It's a 10-hour race, no need for defending positions too harshly. That Mustang, of course, we saw getting unsteady on the entrance to the Dottinger, getting unsteady there as well on the entrance to the start-finish straight, putting the pressure on Hamza Badir. Hamza Badir entering into the slipstream now, starting the third lap of this race. Looking to the outside, that Mustang is weaving all over the shop and braking late into turn one as well. Potentially going to be some contact there, makes contact with the Aston Martin, so there's potentially going to be something for the stewards to look at, but this is certainly very close between these drivers. And now the Aston Martin is under pressure from the Ferrari as well, so the Aston Martin of Ingram is potentially going to lose 2 positions in one spot there. So that was what happened. Hamza Badir is in the middle of these guys now, looking for a position gain back on that Mustang. Certainly very close between these drivers. We had someone ask for the fight in P2 of the GT4 class as well. 0.2 seconds currently exists between these guys. Vickinger and Bayer are looking for a position change. Vickinger looking for P1, of course, and the P1 car of Bayer is the P2 car of Bayer is looking to defend it. It's P2 and P3 that these two are fighting for. P1, Van der Snel, is way ahead of the field, about 10 seconds in front of everyone else in the GT4 category, but Bayer is certainly looking to defend that spot at the moment. You can see the Camaro on the left-hand side of the track there. That gap has spread out a little bit more now, so unfortunately I'm going to have to jump back into the GT3s, jump back more into the action that was going ahead. Hamza Badir still behind Ingram at the moment. I hope that's not the real Tom Ingram. Of course, he should be at the BTCC today, but we'll be seeing what these guys can do here. They're about to enter the Nordschleife. Hamza Badir is looking up the inside of that and makes the position gain actually very comfortably into that corner. Hamza Badir into P23 as it stands at the moment. Further up front, Nicholas Way is looking for the position change with Ray Bain. Ray Bain in the number 90 Porsche. I believe I said that was one of the best liveries on the grid, and I still stand by that note. You can see following quite tight behind each other now. Braking in towards the right-hander before heading down into the drop. Coming out of the corner, no position change. It looks like it'll be between these two. Ebel is putting some pressure on the P3 spot as well. Castagnola is once again defending that position. 0.2 seconds between these guys at the moment, passing the GT4 car as well. That puts some additional pressure on Castagnola, but I don't think a position change is possible in this section of the track at the moment. going to be very late on the brakes there for Maximilian there, unfortunately. And that gap has slightly separated. Certainly putting that pressure on now though. It's going to be potentially a dive into this right-hander. I'm not sure where else a position change is possible. The pressure is everything. We all know from racing that the pressure forces mistakes and potentially forces a position change. It looks like the exit there was better from the Aston Martin, so the Aston Martin will be pulling away slightly on this straight, and of course, as we know, this is quite a long one. Up front, the gap is still 2 seconds between Jacob Regmont and Schwander, so no major change between these guys. Regmont is looking to gain back his position that he lost at turn 1. Need for speed most wanted. BMW is keeping it clean out there. It's a very nice corner from the number 26 BMW there, and once again, the right-hander before the hairpin. Schwander in the Lexus up ahead, trying to maintain that position, trying to keep it consistently clean, and trying to put in those lap times. Schwander still has the fastest lap of the race so far at 8 minute 12.9. As I said, that lap time will go up across the race, and we're seeing how that changes. But at the moment, Schwander is the fastest out on track. Regmont's fastest lap time so far is an 8 minute 13.5, so of course 6/10 slower than the fastest lap of Schwander up front. But that correlation is coming between them. We'll see what the lap times are on this one. Previous lap time was of course 6/10 difference, so potentially Regmont is slower in the race, but we're seeing how that pans out. GT4s have certainly spread out a little bit more now. The gap between P1 and P2 is 11 seconds. Van der Snel is having plenty of fun out there in the Porsche at the moment. Been a lot of joy frolicking around 11 seconds ahead of Bayer, who is in the Mercedes. Bayer is of course 8 seconds in front of the Mustang as well. Fickinger, who was just behind a few laps ago, is now 8 seconds back and is fighting off Mark behind, trying to defend that P3 position. Lights flashing from that Aston Martin. The pressure is being applied. We'll see if there's any action into this corner, but I think the Aston Martin is just slightly too far back from the Camaro there. Quite a bit of damage on that Aston Martin as well, which is unfortunate to see, but hopefully it's not affecting that car too much. Just behind them we have Jan Straka, who is in another Aston Martin, 3 seconds back from Mark at the moment, so potentially going to be a change between those guys. And then just behind them, Max Scaver is 11 or 12 seconds back from Straka, so those gaps have certainly started to spread out a little bit more now. But of course the GT4s tend to be quite close compared to the GT3s, so we'll be seeing how this pans out throughout the race. Maximilian Eberl is still putting pressure on Castagnoli. We'll be seeing if there's a position change down this straight now. We've certainly got the slipstream, pulling up those kilometers an hour. Not sure whether it'll be enough though, we'll see. That gap is slowly diminishing. Aston Martin's trying to weave, trying to get rid of the slipstream, but it's looking like the Ferrari will have to pull to the outside, maybe even the inside of the Aston Martin here. Yep, goes for the inside. There's not going to be that much space there, but it's going to be side by side into the corner. A little bit of contact. Hopefully that's not unsettled the Aston Martin too much, but I think it has. Castagnoli did hit the barrier there. Hopefully that's not too much damage on that car. It's unfortunate to see, but of course going through that section of track side by side is very dangerous, and it's not easy to keep it clean through there. So unfortunately Castagnoli has now dropped down into P4. Burl is up into P3. Stewards of course will be looking into that and seeing what they can do. Tom Morris-Jones looking for the position gain on the Project Low-Key Aston Martin as well, 0.2 seconds back at the moment as they dive down in towards turn 1. A wider entry from the Mustang, almost hitting the back of the Aston Martin there, but nothing happening so far. That Aston Martin getting a very clean exit out of the first corner, able to pull back a few tenths from Morris-Jones, but Morris-Jones very fast driver as we know. has a close friendship with Ryan Cheshire, who is one of the fastest drivers, if not the fastest drivers in ACM. He started from the back of the grid and is currently in P15, so plenty of positions gained from him so far. He'll be up on board with Tom Morris-Jones' friend soon enough, and potentially going to be a battle playing out between those two. It's obviously going to be harder for Ryan Cheshire to gain those positions throughout the race. The more the time goes on, those gaps will get bigger, more time will have to be gained, and of course the top two of Schwander and Regmond are very fast drivers, so we'll be seeing what they do. Seems like the BMW there, Marciniak just accepting that that position is going to be taken. He's got a 15-second penalty anyway, so it doesn't need to be defended that hard. And of course, as I said, Ryan Cheshire is quite known in ACM, one of the fastest drivers, if not the fastest, so of course not worth defending too harshly those positions. Back in P13 though, Ilya Jen, number 666 Ferrari, is 0.3 seconds back from Zimmerman up front. I believe there's quite a few Zimmermans in this race, so I'll try not to get too confused in them all. Shellsteed is in P, I'm not sure what the GT4 positions are unfortunately, but he is in second to last for the GT4s. Quite far back at the moment, but we're seeing what he can do further on in the race. 10 hours to go, plenty of action to be had, and I think he's just behind another driver potentially at the moment. Maybe that's a driver that is a lap ahead. I think Shellsteed is back a lap from the other GT4s, which is why these two aren't showing up on our radar. Number ISS Racing D, number 155 Mustang, is fairly close to Ingram now. I don't know whether it is actually, or Tony Ingram. Used with a T Ingram there, but Tony Ingram is defending those positions quite well. Of course, we saw plenty of battles earlier between those guys. Bussell putting pressure on now, trying to get that P23 position. Up front, McQueen putting some pressure on the Anderson Lamborghini. They're actually gaining the position on that Lamborghini either having an issue or just allowing that position to be taken there. But either way, Christian McQueen for the Balls and Dolls Motorsports is up into P19, so position gain for them. Got about 7 seconds up front to Kerman, which is the next target. We'll see what they can do. Go back on with Ilya Jen at the moment though, 1 second back from Zimmerman up front. Zimmerman also 1 second back from Lehman, who is just in front of them. Closest gap in the top 10 at the moment is the Lucas Friedrich Project Loki. I believe the position change did occur between the Loki Aston Martin and the Tom Morris-Jones Mustang, but Lucas Friedrich is low-key trying to get that position back. Sorry, that was an awful joke. Putting that pressure onto the Mustang. 0.3 seconds at the moment. Obviously that position change did occur at some point. Unfortunately I missed it, but either way he's trying to put that pressure back on. Tom Morris-Jones, as we said, a very fast driver, so we'll be able to deal with that pressure well. Both going slightly wide on that corner there, both pushing it as much as they can. Interesting stat that we have had so far. The fastest time that we have had in the speed trap is from Mihai Koman at the moment. Koman has set a 289 km/h top speed. I believe that is on the Dottinger-Hohe Straight. Schwander and Skibor, who are both in Lexuses, have set 288 km/h, as well as Ryan Cheshire on that one as well. But of course, the fastest is from Koman. Just an interesting stat to see who's got the fastest lap times. Of course, here at Nordschleife, it is heavily influenced by the amount of slipstream that you have. So I assume the BMW speed that was hit from Mihai was of course when it was in the slipstream. I believe there's a bit of damage on the front of this BMW as well. The bonnet is flapping a little bit. Yeah, you can see some damage there, so that's going to be slowing Herman down either in the corners or the straights, so no more speed trap times will likely be set. We'll go back on the timing screen. Zimmerman still 0.3 seconds back from Lehman at the moment. Lehman fighting off that position. Pressure is being applied. There's going to be no position gain through here likely. There's no spots to do so. There's been a look to the inside by Dominic there, but keeping it sensible, keeping it behind for now, and not putting too much pressure on. 9.5 hours left of this race. We've had quite a few position changes up front. Of course, we saw on lap 1, turn 1, those positions P1 and P2 swap around. Schwander took the inside line of turn 1, was able to get a better exit on the outside of turn 2, and was able to take that position from Regement. Regement had a few difficulties with Castagnola and Eberl, also looking for that position behind, so did drop back a few seconds in there as well. I believe he's got a 5-second penalty standing from qualifying, so he'll have to serve that at the next pit stop, which of course will be soon. These guys will have to come into the pit lane when 65 minutes has counted down. So there is about 35 minutes left of the current stint timer. 35 minutes left of racing for these guys. As I said though, not everyone comes in when the stint timer runs out. Some people might want to adjust their strategy slightly, maybe run lower fuel, maybe use the tyres more. We'll be seeing of course different strategies throughout this race. I think the best one that you can do though is just leaving yourself a splash from the dash at the end, and maybe keeping the tyres on so you don't need to wait too long in the pits. You can gain quite a few positions by doing so, but as I said, we'll see how this race plays out. Had someone in chat saying car 248 got nailed by a car reversing onto the track. It's unfortunate to hear, but there are stewards, and of course if it isn't on the ACM Racing website, you can of course send a ticket. It seems like Christian has repaired that car now though. I believe that was where the damage that we saw previously on this car was from. So Bejan is back in contention for this race. Quite far back from P40 at the moment, about 10 seconds. P40 is about 40 seconds back from P39 as well, so plenty of time to be gained. But we'll be seeing how it is. And as Tommy Bills says, 9 hours to go. That's right, there's plenty of stuff that can happen. We saw last weekend with the real life 24-hour race that the P1 position changed with just 3 hours to go potentially, if my memory serves. But of course, in these endurance races, anything can happen. Currently, what's happening at the moment, Luca Butol is putting some pressure on Coney Ingram. 0.3 seconds was between those guys, but it seems like Butol had to back off slightly. Tony Ingram got a little bit unsteady there, touching the grass on the outside. He's now spinning the car around, ready to get going again. Hopefully no issues rejoining. It's unfortunate to see from Tony Ingram. Punt magnet racing did indeed magnetize towards a punt from the grass, if anything. Unfortunately getting a little bit unsteady on the outside of that corner. It is dangerous touching the grass here at Nordschleife. Of course, with the barriers being so close to the track, there's not that much leeway. On the Dottinger Straight, there's quite a few battles happening. The Ferrari of Zimmerman did get past Lehman there as they headed towards the final section of the Dottinger. The pressure is being put back onto the Ferrari though. Lehman is all over the rear of that Ferrari. We'll be looking for the slipstream down in towards the terminal as well. Potentially going to be a dive bomb in towards that first corner. Looking on the rear at the moment, it's going to be a dive to the left. It's going to be a dive to the left, so I'll have the outside for the first corner, the inside for the second corner. Potentially actually looking for a switchback here as the Ferrari goes deep into the corner. We'll have a worse exit out of this corner here. The BMW is going to be good on the exit, but not going to have enough speed to take that position, so no change at the moment. Looking to the inside, putting that pressure on, forced a mistake from the Ferrari, goes slightly wide, nothing too major at the moment though. Lehman wide of the apex, so a few tenths will be lost there. Meanwhile, Ryan Cheshire is looking for the position changes instead. Lehman, Zimmerman battling up front, Ryan Cheshire looking for the advantage that he can take out of this. Looking at the inside there, not able to get a good exit compared to the BMW, so we'll have to file back in, single file through the corners here. Looks to potentially the inside, potentially the outside, goes to the outside. It was defended on the inside, so isn't able to gain on the outside there. It's a difficult corner to gain on the inside. Won't go for a dive on this corner. It's not very beneficial, but will be gaining the speed out of this one. Has a much better exit than that BMW. Potentially going to be a position change before the chicane up ahead, and goes for it on the corner. That fast right-hander there is ahead before the braking zone, is ahead into the corner, and that position change for Ryan Cheshire is successful. P12 currently stands as his. He's got 1 second to get Zimmerman in front. Of course, Lehman will also be trying to gain as much out of that as he can. He did just lose that position to Zimmerman in front, so he's looking to get that back as much as he can. Nicholas Way now looking for the position changes. Tom Morris-Jones getting him steady on the grass there. Losing out on 2 positions which he gained recently, so the project low-key Aston Martin back in P5 as it stands. Under pressure from Nicholas Way in the over-limit racing Ferrari at the moment though. Nicholas Way flashing his lights, putting that pressure on the Aston Martin, following on behind. Seeing what he can force out of this. Going to be no position change for a few seconds at least though, potentially one into the next braking zone, as this slipstream along here will be quite powerful for this Ferrari. The Aston Martin and its wing there look like a brick in the air zone, but not too much catch up from the Ferrari as I would have expected. Having the fast left-hander now, potentially going to be a dive. It's a late break from Zimmerman, but not close enough for a dive. Still puts the pressure on though, goes around that right-hander. Aston Martin gets a better exit out of that. And of course, Tom Morris-Jones is now just spectating that just behind. Dominic Zimmerman was just overtaken by Ryan Cheshire there. I did unfortunately miss it, but it was on the straights there. And Ryan Cheshire is now looking for his next victim, which is Philip Polinsky in the Audi. 5 seconds to gain, 5 seconds to close. I'm sure that will happen soon. And Lehman, who we said was looking to get the most out of the Ryan Cheshire overtaking front, has dropped back slightly actually, 1.5 seconds to Zimmerman now. So not able to gain as much as he probably would have wanted out of that. But either way, strong going from Lehman. 1.6 seconds back, 5 seconds behind as well. So plenty comfortable at the moment. Friedrich was just taken by Nicholas Way as well. Nicholas Way, I believe, going up the inside of one of those corners, taking the position. Lucas Friedrich looking to put the pressure back onto the over-limit racing Ferrari now instead. Seeing what these guys can do. Back down in GT4 then, the position is still P1 for Van der Snel in the Porsche. Very successful race for him at the moment. Started in P37, obviously that's overall. Is in P31 at the moment, so gained 6 since the start of this race. Would have had some GT3s leaving the race or already retiring their car, so those positions would have been gained from that. Bayer, who started in P35, is up in P32 at the moment, obviously P2 for those GT4s, so potentially losing out a bit at the start there, but of course is 11 seconds back from Van der Snel, so there is all the potential in the world for things to change. Straka was just overtaken by GT3, has about 10 seconds gap behind to Mark, who's in another Aston Martin in the GT4s, but currently Straka is in P3. As I said, there's about 15 seconds or so to the next GT4 car. These guys have certainly spread out a little bit since the start of this race. Speaking of big gaps, there's a big gap between P4 and P5, 13 seconds as it stands at the moment. Nicholas Way is defending that P5 spot, which he gained about 1 lap prior. Friedrich is looking to put the pressure on. Of course, 9 minutes 20 remaining of this race. Plenty of time for position changes to be made, plenty of time for positions to be fought for. You can see Tom Morris-Jones in the background as well, making a mistake towards the start of this lap, looking to gain back that time. You can see on the carousel there, doing as much as he can. At the moment, seems like it's going to be stable for these positions, 0.6 seconds between these guys. We'll jump back towards Christian McQueen, who is putting the pressure on the BMW in front. You can see just ahead. McQueen does have a 10-second penalty as it currently stands, so any possession which he does gain will unfortunately be lost during the first round of pit stops. Certainly putting the pressure on Kerman though. Kerman in the BMW in front started in P11, currently in P17, so did unfortunately drop a few positions since the start of this race, but is looking to gain those back and defend his current P17 position. The driver who we're on board with, Christian McQueen, has gained 29 positions since the start of this race, so didn't set qualifying lap. Started in P47, overtook all the GT4s at the start, is now very well in P18, doing a very good job there in his Ferrari, looking for a P17 position as well, which would make it 30 positions gained. Of course, not as much as the driver with the most position gains, which is currently standing with Ryan Cheshire, 46 positions gained since the start of this race. Plenty of fighting has gone ahead. Of course, Ryan Cheshire didn't set a qualifying lap, started in the pit lane, so started towards the rear of the grid. gained 46 positions since the start of the race, and is looking for more to be gained. He's currently 2.7 seconds back from Felinski. Felinski having a little bit of a battle with Skibor in front as well. And then in front of them, Rabin is looking for a position change on Tom Morris-Jones, and Friedrich is still putting pressure on Nicholas Way as well. Tom Morris-Jones very unsteady there on the exit of the mini carousel. That rear end of the Mustang getting very out of shape. Going to give the advantage to Rabin, but of course the Mustang will have the straight line speed advantage on this straight, as long as he gets a good exit. Gets a good exit, doesn't touch the grass. Rabin will have the slipstream, but did touch the grass on exit there. We'll be seeing what this slipstream does for Christopher. It's going to potentially be a look to the outside of this Mustang. We'll jump on board with the helicam between these two. It's now a drag race now that there's no slipstream. The Mustang will get the side draft advantage there as well. Potentially going to draft in behind the Porsche as well, so that position gain was successful along the Dottinger. The Mustang is now looking for a position change into the final few corners of this lap, and isn't able to do so. He's now under pressure from Skibor as well in the lime green Lexus just behind. Tom Morris-Jones going into the pit lane now, actually, so a very early pit stop for Tom Morris-Jones. He can be the first of the GT3 field to go into the pit lane, potentially going to be due to damage. You can see quite a bit of damage on that car, particularly on the front of that Mustang. So you can see he's gone into the pit lane to repair, to refuel, to put some new tyres on. About 20 minutes earlier than was needed, but of course the race is 9 hours long. There's plenty of time for things to change, so it doesn't matter too much what happens. Lucas Friedrich currently in P6, 0.6 seconds back from Nicholas Way at the moment. We saw these guys battling the previous lap. The position was gained the previous lap, and of course Lucas isn't letting that position go. He's taking the most of the slipstream advantage that he can get. He's taking the most of putting that pressure on and potentially forcing mistakes as well. Nothing too major at the moment though. Philip Felinski looking to put some pressure on Skibor. Skibor is looking to put some pressure on Rabin, so it's quite a close battle between P5 and P10 in the GT3 category. Further down the field, Martin for the front runner racing team, the 114 Aston Martin, putting some pressure on the ISS racing team, which is now in P19. Very successful start to the race for these guys. Harold Lind for the RMS Rock Motorsport team. Once again, very fantastic liveried Porsche, putting some pressure on the Aston Martin. 0.1 second, potentially going to be a dive in towards turn 1. Going to be darting to the left very shortly. There you go, dive to the left. Going to be a late on the brakes. We'll jump into helicam and see what happens. Aston Martin actually gets the later braking out of that. And it's going to be a similar line through turn 2 as well. Potentially a better exit for the Porsche, depending on how fast they can put the throttle down. It's going to be a relatively equal exit for the two of them there. GT4 just stopped in the middle of the track, some fortunes here, and of course we've seen a incident there as well. Harold Lind going slightly wider than the apex there, so that's going to be looked at by the stewards. Potentially nothing to come out of that, and of course that incident that was mentioned in chat about the GT4 will of course be looked at by the stewards as well. If it's not on the ACM website, send a ticket, stewards will see it, stewards will give a penalty, and of course we will be stewarding this entire race live, so plenty of penalties to come through. Friedrich getting caught up. By an Alpine there in that one, dropping back 1.1 seconds from Way in that one. Way able to get through sooner than the Aston Martin. Ryan Cheshire has gained that position on Philip Felinski now, and is also looking to put some pressure on Martin Skibor. It's Lexus versus Lexus as they reach the bottom of that hill. Philip Felinski, of course, in the Audi, has dropped back slightly at the start of this race. Ryan Cheshire did put the pressure on Skibor. Skibor made a mistake there. Unfortunately, dropped back behind Folinsky as well. Morris Jones putting the pressure on Tony Ingram now. Tony Ingram had a very tense start to this race. The first 50 minutes also have been filled with battles. It's a close one there. Tony Ingram goes wide on the outside, allows that position to be gained by Tom Morris Jones there. Tony Ingram, of course, now back behind. That's 5 seconds to the car behind, so potentially a bit of safety for him over the next few laps. Philip Folinsky and Skibor are still having a battle. An excellent camera angle from ACC there. We've all about 1 second back from Folinsky. Folinsky 0.5 seconds back from Cheshire. Don't think there's going to be a position change between these two. Cheshire is simply way too fast to be overtaken at this point. Is hitting that wall of air like a brick though. Around the corner. Lucas Friedrich will put it on the pressure to Nicholas Way. Still 0.6 seconds back, but again nothing too major. Up front, battle for P1, P2. Jacob Regmont and Schwander are 2 seconds between each other still, so very consistent lap times between these two. Previous lap was an 8:15.5 for Schwander, 8:15.3 for Regmont, a 2/10 difference, but of course that gap still is 2 seconds, and that has been like that for the first 50 minutes of the race. So these guys are potentially equal to each other. We'll be seeing what the race finishes out as. Rebane had an issue on the exit of the carousel there, was overtaken by Ryan Cheshire. Ryan Cheshire up into P7 now, he's looking for his next victim, which will be Friedrich in the Aston Martin. 3.7 seconds for him to gain. We'll keep our eye on things there. And back down into GT4, still the same as before, or actually it's changed now. The Jacob Tucky Hunt Racing, or nope, I've made a mistake. Van der Snel still in P1. No positions changed there. Bayer is in P2, 7 seconds back now though, so that's certainly become a lot closer. Jan Straka in P3, 10 seconds back from Bayer, so also closing in as well. Mark has just been overtaken by a GT3 car. 1 second, oh sorry, there's about 28 seconds or so between P4 and P3 of the GT4 category. I apologise, it's quite difficult for me to read the timings of these guys because I only have the overall tracker. Jacob Tucky, the Hunt Racing Porsche, is in P5 at the moment, quite far back from the P4, about a minute and a half, so potentially just going to be keeping consistent throughout the rest of this race to see what they can do. Gelsteed still towards the rear of the field, a few laps back from the other GT4s, or 1 lap back from the other GT4s, so nothing to be gained at the moment, but of course 9 hours left of the race, all to be played for. Someone's asked about Zimmerman. Dominic Zimmerman for the Scottish Legends Ferrari is in P11 at the moment. 5 seconds back from Skibor. Some people cheering on for the car number 950. That is, of course, Dominic Zimmerman, who's doing very well at the moment. Started in P12, up in P11, so has gained 1 position since the start of this race and is in quite a stable position at the moment as well. Is good to see. Philip Folinsky getting that slipstream off of the Porsche in front. Potentially look for something at the inside there, doesn't decide to go for it. It's quite dangerous to go through there this early in the race, but of course putting that pressure on, which is good. As I said, the Audi is a rare car to see here at Nordschleife, but it's good to see either way. This is probably the last lap these guys do before their pit stops. You can see the stint timer 65 minutes, 9 hours 10 minutes left of the race, which means there's 15 minutes left of those stint timers. 8-minute lap times. It's going to be quite difficult to fit in 2 more laps on this stint, so we'll be seeing these guys heading into the pit lane at the start of the next lap. No position change between these at the moment. Marcin Skibor is behind Folinsky at the moment, 1 second back as it currently stands. And 1.3 seconds between Tony Ingram and Lind. Now Tony Ingram once again back under pressure, which is unfortunate to see. Tom Jones has dropped back into P22 as well. Of course, we saw him taking an early pit stop, which has dropped him down, but he's making those position gains. Again, he's got about 10 seconds towards P21, which will be closing over the next few laps. Apologies, I'll be briefly dropping out for a quick second. I'll leave you with a view of Felinsky in case there's a position change between. Apologies for that, I am back, and I am back on the action with Felinsky. 0.2 seconds between these two. There wasn't a position change while I was gone, but that gap has certainly diminished slightly, and that pressure is being put on by Philip Felinsky. It's potentially going to be a position change around the outside between these two. And that is it. The Audi goes around the outside of the Porsche just before they reach the corner. Porsche potentially dropped back on the throttle a little bit there just to play it safe. Of course, a smart thing to do this early into a 10-hour endurance race, but of course that position was gained by Felinsky, which is good to see. Friedrich still putting pressure on Nicholas Wade. 0.9 seconds between these two now, so he has dropped back slightly since that 0.6 second gap he had previously, but of course still just in the mirror, still trying to weave and distract the Ferrari up front. But Nicholas Wade, very successful race so far, starting in P8, in P3, in P5 at the moment, so gained 3 positions since the start. Someone's asking for how 555 is doing. 555 still towards the rear of the grid, is the last place GT4 as it currently stands. I believe he had a disconnect or something during lap 1, which caused the disappearance of the timings there. Fortunate to see, but Zimmerman will have plenty of time to gain back those positions throughout this race. People asking for Shellsteed as well. Shellsteed recovering from his start. Here's the car in front of Zimmerman, so potentially going to be a battle between those two at some point. Of course, you can see the gaps on the left-hand side of the screen are quite large between these guys. Seeing a potential change between them. Car number 248 is apparently making a slow recovery. Let's see if I can see them. Yeah, that's correct. Car number 248, Christian Bejan. Obviously had that damage earlier on. Was able to repair that. Now making his way slowly back up the field. Has a GT4, I believe, in front. Yeah, 3 seconds in front. So potentially going to be having to find his way past that GT4, and then about 6 seconds to the next GT3 car, so that'll be quite close between those two. Bayer is now in the pit lane, the first of the GT4s to go into the pit lane. Probably the smart thing to do. Obviously these guys do a 9-minute lap time, and there's only 9 minutes left of the stint timer, so those cars, those GT4 cars which are coming across the pit lane now, will probably all likely go into the pit lane, including Bargian Mark. We'll see what they do. They can of course do one more lap. They will have time, but it's going to be quite tight, and of course if you want to play it safe, to play safe and not get a drive through, you would probably go into the pit lane. Yeah, you can see there, I think Mark was very indecisive about what he wanted to do, and maybe even potentially sped into the pit lane there. So that's unfortunate to see. He did pass that pit lane speed limit quite early on. And of course, we'll be getting a penalty. So that GT4 will drop back a little bit, potentially giving way to Jacob Tucky in the Porsche. Straka is being overtaken by a GT3 at the moment. He's in P2 for the GT4s at the moment. He's about 14 seconds back from Van der Snel. Van der Snel having a fantastic start to the race. So far, very comfortable lead in the GT4s. Seeing how that plays out. Ryan Cheshire now on board with his next target, the Project Loki Aston Martin, which is the one that's putting pressure on Nicholas Way, is now having pressure applied by Ryan Cheshire. Ryan Cheshire will be looking potentially to use the speed of the Lexus on the straight coming up to gain this position. We'll be seeing how that plays out. He's gaining his time throughout these corners though. The gap is now 0.9 seconds. And of course, Frederick is looking to put some pressure, gain that time on the Aston Martin in front as well. A better time there for Ryan Cheshire. Keeping it steady though through this fast section of track. Ryan Cheshire has set some unbelievable lap times on this track. I think it's his favourite track. Maybe even a close battle with Spa for that one, but of course he's very fast and he will be able to gain the time that he wants to, so he's going to be fighting for the P6 position very soon. The gap is now 0.8 seconds as they emerge onto the Dossinger. It's going to be pedal to the floor for Ryan Cheshire, touching the grass slightly on exit there, looking to gain maybe the dregs of the slipstream from that Aston Martin. Nothing at the moment, looking actually not behind the Aston Martin as it stands. He was looking in that clean air, so I think it's probably too far back to get anything reasonable, but he will be using the straight line speed of that Lexus to his advantage. The Aston Martin of course is looking for the slipstream from Way as well, so potentially a three-way battle for P5 emerging as it currently stands. And we got the first few drivers for GT3 into the pit lane now. Maurice Schwander, Regmont and Burl are in the pit lane. You can see the GT4 in the background coming in as well. Obviously 65 minutes think timer, 6 minutes left of that timer. And of course, an 8-minute lap time means that everyone will have to come into the pit lane. That pit lane will be becoming very busy now, so of course it will be depending on how fast these people can do their pit stops. And they are all in the pit lane now. That Aston Martin's going quite slow, getting overtaken in the pit lane, so I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but either way, everyone is into the pit lane now. Rebane has just come in, Zimmerman has just arrived, Anderson is about 0.9 seconds back from Butol in front, but of course these guys will come into the pit lane as well. We'll keep our eye on Schwander because he will be the first to emerge. As he is doing so now, heads back towards turn 1. The driver who is the next one to leave the pit lane will be of course Regmont, who is heading towards the exit line now. Pedal to the floor, has a bit of pressure from a Burl behind. That Shrek Ferrari is putting that pressure on as they leave the pit lanes. 10 seconds between Schwander and Regmont, so Schwander had a fantastic pit stop, potentially not changing tyres. It's a risky one, but that's potentially what happened. So we'll be seeing how that goes ahead. Regmont did have that 5-second penalty actually, that's where the time change came from. Regmont was stopped for 10 seconds longer than Schwander was in the pit lane, or 8 seconds longer than Schwander in the pit lane, so that's why the gap is now 10.7 seconds, and of course Burl is looking for that position gain as well. You can see it just underneath the wing of the BMW there. That fantastic livery of that Ferrari there. It'll be memes in the rearview mirror for Jacob. But he'll be looking to defend this spot either way. He, of course, wants to put pressure onto P1. Did have to drop back because of that qualifying penalty that he had. But, of course, is now clear to go and do what he wants. Tom Morris Jones is just leaving the pit lane, heading towards turn 1 now. Actually, sorry, Tom Morris Jones had left the pit lane much early. He did an early pit stop, so he, of course, is now up into P11 as relative to everyone else. He will have his tyres warmed up as well, so he'll be in the ideal sort of window for more positions to be gained. He's looking down the inside of Zimmerman at the moment. Zimmerman has been overtaken. Dominic Zimmerman back down into P11 now. Tom Morris-Jones back up into P10. Has about 8.5 seconds to P9 up front. P9, of course, Stephen Hackert now in the Porsche, swapping over from Rebane. And Philip Felinski still in the Audi as well. I believe Philip is potentially doing this race solo. No, he's got Mintoki Yong in the Audi as well. I wonder if we do have any solo drivers during today's race. Ryan Cheshire has Brogan Dyer in the car. Tom Morris-Jones has Eric Pavlovich. And I believe Adam Nagy is doing this race solo. Just him in the car at the moment. He has 9 hours left to go. It's quite a lot of time to be doing solo, but we've seen people do 24-hour races solo before, so plenty of action to come. Ryan Cheshire, having a mistake there. I switched over at the wrong time as he goes off on the grass, gets potentially overtaken by Philip Felinski, who is just behind him now. Thankfully keeps it out of the barriers, so it's just the tyres that are at risk there, but Philip Felinski is certainly going to be applying the pressure now to Ryan Cheshire. Ryan Cheshire did make that mistake, so potentially more mistakes to come. 2.3 seconds back from Friedrich. And of course, that position was being fought for before the pit stops. So Ryan Cheshire did lose a bit of time, I believe, repairing damage during the pit stop, which is where that came from. Friedrich is now just behind Regmont. Of course, Regmont having the penalty to serve in the pit lane, so losing out a few seconds on that. Schwander is looking to make the most of this clean air gap that he got at the moment. Got a blue flag, just a few tenths of a second in front, so hopefully that resolves itself in a nice place for him. Also in chat saying car number 118 is also doing this race solo. Jacob Tucky has been going so far, did unfortunately get a stop go 30-second penalty for speed in the pit lane, so unfortunately we'll have to serve that within the next 3 laps, but of course he's doing this race solo, so we'll be managing those tyres, managing those stints and seeing what he can do. There's a yellow flag around here, I'm not sure. Fortunate to see. It seems like, I think Regmont was not caught up in that, actually. I think it was a blue flagged BMW in front that hit that stranded car. Car number 123 trying to get that car turned around, hopefully gets back to racing. Yeah, I believe they're back racing now, so hopefully all is safe between those. Keep our eye on Killian Friedrich though. Just on the rear of Regmont. We're getting a bit unsteady on the curb there, but nothing too major so far. Probably having to back off a little bit to not run into the rear there, but we'll get the slipstream, so gain that time back across this section. A change between Regmont actually has quite a bit of damage on the front of that car, so there was a change between those two at the start of this section. They went side by side and that position was gained. Regmont now has damage on the front of that car as well, so he will be a lot slower during this stint. I think that gives Schwander a little bit less sweat on the forehead, so he's comfortable in P1 at the moment. Of course, 8 hours 55 minutes left of the race. More can happen, more will happen. We know endurance racing by now, and we know it to not be a nice thing. Stephen Hackert is chasing down Jakovic at the moment as well. Jakovic in that lime green Lexus, very visible. Braking quite a lot for that corner though. I don't think Stephen Hackert was prepared for that, and is actually braking to allow that position to be taken as well, so potentially some damage, or I'm not sure what, on David's car, but that position was taken. Hackert is now in P8, Jakovic is now 0.5 seconds back. Ryan Cheshire will stay on with all the next few corners at least. He's 0.3 seconds back from Struck Path at the moment. So potentially a position change between these guys. 0.4 seconds as it stands. We know Ryan as a fast driver. The Project Loki Aston Martin is equally very fast though, so potentially going to be quite a bit of a battle between these two, depending on whether Ryan Cheshire can find a good opportunity or not. He's following close behind at the moment though, not allowing any gap in the mirror to be empty. I admire the lines that Ryan Cheshire takes here. Using the most of the track, making the most of advantages. Yep. No position change so far though. I think it'll be done on the Dottinger straight between these two. Ryan Cheshire will wait for an opportune moment to get that done. Apologies, my doorbell has gone off. I will be back in just a second. Alright, I'm back. Brogan Dyer's in chat. I believe he's on the team with Ryan Cheshire, who is just getting past the Project Loki Aston Martin we saw there on the stream. Brogan Dyer says he's already got 11 seconds damage after repairing the car. Yeah, you can see on the front of that Lexus, certainly a bit of damage on the front of that thing. Hopefully nothing too major. Hopefully he's able to keep that car going. I have a feeling he will. He was just able to get past Struckrath quite comfortably, and of course he's looking for that P4 spot from Way now at the moment. Yellow flag here to show where that is. All seems to be okay. Ryan Cheshire 0.8 seconds back from Way. Jakovic in another Lexus is looking for Hackert's position now in P9 and P8. Tommy Build says he's going to bed, so thank you very much for joining the stream and chatting in the chat. Hope you have a good sleep, and I'll see you later on in the race. Planet Lekaj, currently in P18, looking for the ISS Racing Team's P17 position. 0.7 seconds between these at the moment. So it's slowly coming down. The ISS Racing Team has had a very successful race since they had an incident earlier on. They were dropped back down into a sort of P25. They've gained back a few positions. They're in P15 now, actually, as they pass two in the pit lane. So of course, gaining back those positions. I unfortunately will have to be ending the stream now as it stands. I'll keep my eye on Ryan Cheshire and see if he can gain this position before I end. But unfortunately, we're quite limited on stewards today, so I'm going to have to join in with the stewards and finish off the first hour of incidents. Apologies for that, but hopefully the race continues going well, and of course there'll be individual driver streams. We'll be back in a few weeks time. The next thing that we have coming up here at ACM, we have 12 hours of Monza on the 6th of June. There'll be a commentator for that one. We've got 7 hours of Nordschleife on the 13th of June with quite a big grid for that one as well. It's the next race in the 2026 Endurance Series, 2026 NLS Endurance Series, sorry. Of course that's the race after this one. After that, we've got a very good race, 24 hours of Spa, which is in partnership with 0 Point Racing. That one's an entry feed event, so of course drivers will be fighting for the prize pool. We have quite a big prize pool for that event as well, so that'll be a fun one to see. That's on the 20th of June, and of course it's 24 hours long, so come and join us for that one. Just after that, 6 hours of Valencia, 27th of June. And then 8 hours of Nordschleife will be announced and released today as well. And you can see there Ryan Cheshire able to make that move past Nicholas Way. 0.2 seconds now between those guys. You can see Ryan Cheshire, of course, just able to take that position. I think Nicholas Way actually gave that willingly away. I think he knows that he can't defend that position for long, so it's no point trying. 9 hours left of the race, of course. Plenty of opportunity to happen. As I say though, unfortunately I will have to go now. Have a look at this overtake from Tom Morris-Jones. Seems to be successful. That Lexus of Djakovic is now down in P10. As I said, I'm going to have to unfortunately end the stream now. So thank you very much for everyone for joining for this first hour. We obviously have 8 hours and 48 minutes left of the race so far. So plenty of action upcoming, but I will unfortunately have to end the stream. I'm not sure whether we'll get a commentator in at the end, but of course keep your eyes open. Follow the ACM Racing Twitch channel, follow the ACM Racing website, and we will be back either today or in a few weeks' time for the 12 hours of Monza. Thank you everyone for coming along, and we will see you again soon.